All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. That way we don't take up too much time, and I'll let people in as they come. So today I wanted to share with you my information meeting on Homeschool for Success, on how we can actually school our children successfully at their level rather than having to all work together as a group and move as a group. A little bit about me. I am one of 7 children, and I was homeschooled myself most of my school career, K through 8 and 11 and 12. 9th and 10th grade, I went to a small private school in Duncanville. I've lived in Texas most of my life, especially the DFW area. And I graduated magna cum laude from UT Arlington with a BA in English for secondary education. And I went back and completed my master's in education in triple literacy back in 2017. I taught in Crowley, then I went to China for a year. When I came back from China, I worked at Grand Prairie for a few years, and then last year I worked in Arlington ISD. This is my family. It's a very big family, or at least a good chunk of my family, not everybody. I have lots of siblings, lots of nieces and nephews. Some of them go to school, some are homeschooled, and many of them are a little young for school, as you can see. But I have a lot of experience, and I've always been around children. They've been a big part of my life. In my program, safety is of the utmost importance, and I'm talking about actual physical safety. So your child's safety is my #1 priority. Because of that, every person that interacts with your child will go through a background check. And you have access, you as a parent will have access all day to cameras to check on your child anytime you feel like it. We record and maintain at least 30 days of camera footage in case we need to reference it. Hopefully we never have to, but we have it if we need it. So if you have questions. My core curriculum comes from Time for Learning, which is a curriculum that has quite a few years on it, and it covers math, history, English, and science in kindergarten through 12th grade. It is an online curriculum, but it's engaging. It's done in small chunks to keep the child engaged and help them move forward at their pace. Let's see. They work at whatever grade they are in that subject. So my nephew, who's doing this program right now, is 8 years old, and he is in 4th grade in English and history and science, but he's doing 5th grade math. So he can work at whatever grade level he's performing at in whichever subject. That way, if they're doing really well in something, we can move them forward and move them faster in that item, instead of having to, well, they're struggling in English, so we can't push them forward to 5th grade yet. Students move based on their pace. If they need to slow down, we slow it. If they want to speed up, we speed it up. It's wherever they're working at. Time for Learning offers foreign language, and in my school, I will encourage the foreign language if that is something you want to add on to there. The Time for Learning language is tied to Rosetta Stone software, and they charge $120 a year. So if you would like to enroll them in Time for Learning, you only pay what Time for Learning itself charges. They offer Chinese, French, German, Hebrew, Italian, Japanese, Latin, Russian, and Spanish. I myself have training in Latin and Spanish from my school days. Not enough to teach it, but enough to help. And exposure to Japanese and Chinese from my year in China, not too much help, but I could at least try to guide them in those. But if you want to sign them up for Hebrew, then you pay at cost what it costs for the Hebrew lessons, and that is all up to you. We'll add it into the year plan. Speaking of the year plan, so let's talk about what this program actually looks like. The program details is that it starts off with a parent-teacher meeting where you as the parent and I as the teacher, we sit down and we spend an hour or two going over everything we want to talk about with your child, where they are, where you want them to be, how fast you want them to get there, and what determines when they've hit that goal. So we'll talk about up here, how many weeks do you want to focus on this particular grade? We're going to talk about school goals for Bible, because that is a class that they will be taught. The class will consist of reading a chapter or a section of the Bible, and then talking about it, and then Bible memory. If you have a particular goal you want to add on to that, that is available as well. We just need to talk about it. Then we will talk about what consists of passing for your child. Is your child passing with a 70, or do they need to get an 80, or does it need to be something else? So we'll sit and talk about what is a passing grade. Reading program choices. So I'm a firm believer that parents should have a lot of input with what their children read. If you don't want them to read Harry Potter, then they shouldn't read Harry Potter. So you have 4 choices I've put here and left notes space if you have something else. The first is you choose what your child reads and you send it with them. The second is you choose from my library and they read the books that I have, but it's from my library and you chose them. The third is we choose the books, but you've put a complete moratorium on something. It could be a set of books like Harry Potter. It could be a theme like magic, but you just don't want them to read anything with that in it. And then the fourth one is just we choose the books, we send them to you a week beforehand, and you say, yep, that's great, or no, let's try something else. And then after we talk about your reading, what your child will be reading, we'll talk about what determines when your child has met the minimum requirements of the grade. So I have 4 options here for grade promotion that I think demonstrate mastery of the grade level, or you can have your own grade promotion. In kindergarten and first grade, I recommend that the only thing we worry about is they pass the content test in Time for Learning. Time for Learning does have content tests for reading, math, history, and science. And in kindergarten and first, I think that's where we need to really focus our energy, is just pushing them past those tests. They're very comprehensive. They cover all the basics, and they've got it down to a science. They do a very good job of that. For the next step up, I recommend that whatever books we've chosen up here, they do book reports and presentations. So they read a book, say they read Charlotte's Web, they put together a poster and they stand up and they present it. They can present it to the other children I'm teaching. They can present it to you. They can present it to us together, however you want to do it. But I do recommend we introduce them to this idea of presentation very early on to normalize it and help them be more comfortable in life when they have to present. Once they've mastered that, we move on to a research project without a presentation. So now we're introducing research and we're teaching them bibliographies and formatting and how do we use sources, how do we tell if a source is reliable, and we focus on getting that research project together. Once they're good at getting the research project together, then we add in the presentation of research. And that's what I recommend mostly for 7th through 12th grade. Now, if you have a precocious child who is working well ahead or you want to push them further, we can give them, say, the research project with presentation in 4th grade if that's what you want them to do. These are just recommendations. If you have something else you want them to do to demonstrate their mastery of a grade, we can talk about that and add it here, whatever it is, because this is really facilitated homeschool. So we spend an hour or 2 planning out the year, and then the rest of the year I facilitate it and make sure it happens. After that, I will create for your child, after that meeting, I'll create this page and you'll get a copy of it. It'll have their name, their general grade, and their final year goals. It'll have Bible reading goals and memorization. It'll have their time for learning, which will include their pace, what is considered a passing grade, and if they are enrolled in a foreign language class. Then it will have the final year compilation project, which will have basic directions for what that project will include. For this little girl, Jane Smith, she's going to read 4 books and do 4 projects, 2 of them on paper and 2 of them on a digital presentation. And then she's going to present one of those projects to a group at the end of the year. The content of the projects is nearly identical, and once she's done that, she's finished the year, she's ready to move on to 4th grade. From that year plan, I'll create a step-by-step week plan that will help me generate these pages. And these pages will be given to the child in the morning when they show up for school. It'll have their name and their daily goals and what day this is. And it's kind of a checklist just to help them stay focused and help us make sure that they've reached their goal. So as they complete each item, we'll check it off the list. And then at the end of the day, we will have a meeting together, usually between 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We'll go over everything. We'll make any notes. If math took too long and they weren't able to finish, we'll put it in the notes. If they finished really early, we'll add it to the notes. We'll talk about repacing if we need to. But this page will come home to you. Now, because this plan is so personalized to your child, it gives us a very flexible calendar, meaning your child can come, as long as they come 180 days, they can come on whichever days you choose. So my calendar for the year starts September 8th and goes to August 6th. In that time, they need to attend 180 days. Now, if you want to take a week off in October because your sister's getting married up in Connecticut and you want to travel up there and visit her the whole week, then you can, because she can make up that week over here in June. So an October calendar might look like this. We've got these 2 weeks look normal. Columbus Day is a day off. And then we have 4 days. And then you took a week off. You went to Connecticut to visit your sister and go to her wedding. Then when you come back, you just pick up at day 34. It's just the next day. There's no makeup work. There's no missed work. There's no attendance problems. And then every time you miss a day, you take a day off, you do something, then I'll just send out a quick note saying this is how many days off that you can take and how many days are remaining on the calendar. The cost, the big question, how much does this cost? So first, what's included? Student attendance between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. with a 15-minute variation for pickup and drop-off. Bible reading, discussion, and memory, so Bible class. A personalized plan, grade promotion activities with guidance and grading. And time for learning, basic tuition. So the cost of actually doing time for learning is included in this as well. And a final transcript for moving forward in the grade. For your first child, it's $9,600, which is about $800 a month. And that covers from September 8th to August 6th the following year. And then for second child and beyond, it's $8,400, so we give a pretty decent discount. It's coming to $700 a month. If you need later than 3:15 pickup, I offer that as well. It's $50 a week or $25 per day, and that goes until 6 p.m. So at this point, if anyone has any questions. All right. If you want to schedule a meeting, this is my phone number. You can call me any reasonable time of the day and I will answer and we can set up a one-on-one meeting. If you don't have any questions, that is all of the information.